Okay, all right. So there's a country known as Canada, and there's going to be an election again. What's an election? Well, it turns out that this landmass is split into 338 districts, and each district gets a representative. And this district representative is, let's hope the best and brightest that particular district has to offer. And they go to Ottawa and they make a bunch of decisions, hopefully for the best of their district in mind. Um, and that's that, right? So, but there's a little bit of a problem and you can see this from the polls and the electoral projections and everything else, is the way each district works. There's a fair amount of um, legitimacy problems because of vote splitting, right? So let's say you have a number of people running for a single district, and you might like um, two of them, but depending on the polling, you might change your opinion of who you're going to cast your ballot for, and be a little strategic. And this has a number of problems because you should be able to just write down your preference, and then it shouldn't. Local polling should not really, um, uh, you know, it shouldn't really upset how you think about how you cast your ballot. Now, this is a problem of what's called first past the post voting systems. And back in 2015, uh, Prime Minister Trudeau, or the Liberal government, promised to do something about first past the post. So Parliament had a committee, and the committee went off and made some recommendations. And what happened was the Conservatives and the NDP party um, uh, had a difference of opinion with the Liberal Party. And let's just get into this.
Mr.
How at questrade.com.
Speaker, the insults just keep coming from the other side of the House. Every opposition party worked together, worked hard, and came to a consensus. The problem here is that the Prime Minister doesn't want to listen to Canadians. He doesn't want to listen to the other parties, just like he won't have a referendum because he thinks the Canadians aren't smart enough and aren't smart as he is to pick the kind of system that we rely on. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is wrong. Canadians are smart enough to cast a vote.
Order. The Honourable Minister of Democratic Institutions. Order.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are smart, reasonable people, and we're doing this for them. The committee did not offer a specific alternative to first past the post. Instead, they offered us the Gallagher Index, Mr. Speaker. So the honourable member wants us to have a referendum on the following. Would Canadians like to take the square root of the sum of the squares of the difference between the percentage of the seats for each party and the percentage of the votes cast?
For Skeena Bulkley Valley. Order.
Another channel. Sounds like they're trying to change the channel, Mr. Speaker. Well, what a day. I'd like to start by thanking all the members of the committee for their incredible work. We managed to do something that has never been done before. Skeptics said that it would all fall apart, that there was simply no way forward to finding agreement between all of these parties. Yet Canadians defied the cynics and told us that they want a proportional voting system in overwhelming numbers. That is a good day for Canada. Can the minister tell us when the government will announce a clear plan and timetable to implement all of the committee's recommendations?
Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my NDP critic for his work on the committee and for his continued commitment to strengthening our democratic institutions. Mr. Speaker, I have to admit I'm a little bit disappointed because what we had hoped the committee would provide us with would be a specific alternative system to first past the post. Instead, Mr. Speaker, they've provided us with the Gallagher Index. Mr. Speaker, while they did not complete the hard work we had expected them to, this is consistent with what we heard from Canadians.
So the liberal MP got booed for saying that the other parties just didn't do their jobs, and well, we can just double check and see what's going on here, and we could read the report. And in fact, yes, the committee recommends the government. The recommend one. It says, the government should seek to design a system that achieves a Gallagher score of 5 or less. The committee recommends that all systems or pure party lists can achieve a Gallagher score of 5 or less. They should not be considered the government of such systems sever the connection between voter and their MP. Right. So what is going on here? So basically, this Gallagher index is, it's this math that determines which party is underrepresented or overrepresented, depending on some formula, right? But the weird thing is, and it's even part of the second recommendation, how the committee says that pure party lists are bad, and even though that they satisfy this formula perfectly, they sever the relationship between voters and their MP. So what does that mean? What it means is essentially the pure party list would mean that Canada having 338 ridings, you just pretend that everyone's in the same district, and then you take all their votes for not for people but for a party instead, and then that party chooses how to fill the House with their share of the vote. So that would be a pure party list election, and then that would have a perfect Gallagher score. So they're saying we need to score better on this index, but we really don't know what system could really how we don't want a system that scores perfectly on this index, but we want something that scores better. Now, the problem with this is it really doesn't matter. Like this formula and this kind of calculus doesn't matter at all. So what doesn't matter is the share of the votes for parties, right? Basically, parties are this fake construct layered on top of what are just simple members of simple districts, right? The prime minister and the party system and all of this could change, as soon as the election happened, right? You've selected a member, you haven't picked a party. So why the electoral system would be so party focused is beyond me. I don't know why the Conservatives and the NDP chose this. I think Nathan Cullen is completely mistaken. And we'll get into that. So like why is proportional representation and then that and the Gallagher index and all of these other party list proportional representation, why is proportional representation stupid? Well, it's really quite simple. Proportional representation is stupid because Pauline Hanson is in the Australian Senate, right? So Pauline Hanson manages a party, her own party called One Nation, right? And it has a bunch of rather ridiculous opinions. And this party always gets into the Australian Senate because of how the Australian Senate picks elects candidates, right? So, for example, in the 2019 Australian federal election, let's see, her party in Queensland. Okay, let's scroll through this document. Yeah, Queensland, right? So, her party, One Nation, got 10% of the votes based on some calculus, but then not even the first or second preference of votes, right? So the way that the proportional representation system works in the Senate election in Australia is this state, Queensland, needs to have 6 elected candidates. And as soon as you meet a threshold, right, you get elected. Now, so they did this calculus, and then based on this party and this candidate getting a lot of votes, they've selected 3 of their candidates. So they select a Liberal National candidate, then a Labor candidate, then a Liberal National candidate, then the One Nation candidate, and then a Liberal National candidate again, and then finally a Green candidate. Now, the problem with this is this Malcolm Roberts and Pauline Hanson and all of these people in this party are some mix of, conspiracy theorists, climate change deniers, racists, or what have you, just general weirdos that would not win any particular district in the Australian Parliament. In fact, they wouldn't be capable of winning a mayoral race. Yet they have one of the 6 Senate seats in Queensland, right? So it's really strange to have a particular constituency having representation in the Senate when they really wouldn't find representation in any diminished capacity in any local and municipal governments, or they might not even exist at that level, right? They're not trying to run your local city councils. They're trying to be ideologues at the federal level, right? So this is basically why proportional representation is kind of goofy, right? So it's terrible that the NDP and the Conservatives decided to, and Nathan Cullen and all these Rona Ambrose and people decided that the Gallagher index is important, when there's the easy solution to this is ranked choice voting, right? And this is what Justin Trudeau's on record as supporting, preferential voting. And it's something that is already working in Maine, right? So let's find out how it works in Maine.
The state of Maine is now using ranked choice voting for state legislative primaries and for federal elections, including the United States presidential race. Ranked choice voting does not apply to the general election races for governor or the state legislature. Ranked choice voting allows voters to choose candidates in order of preference. The votes are tabulated in rounds until only 2 candidates remain, and 1 candidate is determined to have received the majority of the votes in the final round. That candidate is then declared the winner. Here's how the tabulation works. Let's assume that there are 4 candidates for the United States Senate. Let's say that blue is your first choice, the person you would most like to see win for that elected office. Yellow is your second choice, and if neither of them can win, you'd rather see purple in that office before orange. So you rank purple third and orange fourth. You are not required to choose more than 1 candidate if you do not want to participate in ranking. Your first choice candidate for that office will be counted on election night. If no candidate receives a majority, the voting will move into ranked choice voting rounds. All of the ballots and tabulator memory devices will be transported by courier to a secure location in Augusta for counting. Let's take a look at how all those votes will be tabulated. On election night, none of our candidates got a majority of the votes. So we move into round 1 of the ranked choice process. Orange received the fewest votes, so it will be eliminated from the race. But the people who voted for orange as their first choice will still have a voice. Their second choice candidate will be revealed, and their vote will go to that candidate. In our example, 3 of the people who voted for orange chose blue as their second choice. So blue receives 3 more votes in round 1, bringing its total to 11. The other 2 people who voted for orange chose purple as their second choice, so purple receives 2 more votes in round 1, bringing its total to 9. Yellow's votes are also moved into this round. The round 1 totals are blue 11, yellow 10, purple 9. Now we're on to round 2. Purple is eliminated, but purple voters still have a voice in round 2. Those 7 people who voted for purple as their first choice will have their second choice revealed. Of those 7 voters, 4 voted for orange and 3 voted for blue. Orange is no longer in the race, so those ballots are exhausted and are removed from the count, since these voters did not rank any other candidates. The 3 votes for blue are added to the total for blue, bringing blue's total to 14. Now we look at those 2 votes that purple received when orange was eliminated. These voters chose orange first and purple second. Now we look at their third choice. These voters chose yellow as their third choice, so their votes go to yellow. Yellow now has 12 votes and blue has 14. Thus, in round 3, the votes for blue and yellow move forward. With only 2 candidates remaining, blue has the majority. blue is named the winner of the election. Here are a few things to keep in mind when you're marking your ranked choice ballot. If you vote for more than one candidate in a single ranking, your vote won't count since we won't be able to tell which candidate you really want. If you decide to skip a ranking, your choice will be bumped up to the previous ranking. In this example, the skipped ranking will be ignored and Spider-Man will be counted as your second choice. If you decide to skip 2 or more rankings, though, we'll only count the votes before the double skipped rankings. If you only want to vote for one candidate, you can do so. If you choose the same candidate in multiple rankings, only your first choice vote will be counted and will carry forward into subsequent rounds, so this is the same as a single first choice vote. Determining the winner of each election will take a while, given the size of the great state of Maine, but we'll report the unofficial results as soon as they are ready so you'll know who has been chosen for each elected office. If you have any questions about ranked choice voting, please visit our upcoming elections webpage for a variety of informational resources, or give us a call at 626-8400.
So basically this fixes the vote splitting. It fixes the legitimacy problem in case there's like two very popular candidates faced, or very similar candidates, and it allows people to vote for not aligning to party, that votes for the person that they think is most qualified, and then maybe their party preference as a second choice, right? So this is way better, and also doesn't need to change the size of the house or the makeup of the house or the makeup of the districts. It would just be in place with their existing district boundaries. It's a simple fix, and it's a shame that that the NDP and the Conservatives didn't get behind this change, even though that Maine has it, and now we have another election with contentious strategic voting and vote splitting and a bunch of nonsense thrown at each other because, first past the post. So next time we can just do ranked choice instead of injecting party politics into everything, and let people pick or have an opportunity to have a better pick on or better report their preference about their local representative, because ultimately that's what we're selecting as a local representative. No one is voting for prime minister directly. Okay, all right.